I was born to a wealthy family, and after a good education, I gained the respect of all who knew me. I seemed to be guaranteed an honourable and distinguished future. If I had any single serious flaw, it was that I was perhaps inclined to be a bit too spirited. Other people admired my light-hearted good nature, but personally I was annoyed by it. I preferred to present an unchanging seriousness to the public. For that reason, I willfully decided to conceal all of my pleasures. Now, years later, I realize that my life has been an admirable one, but it has certainly been a fraudulent one. No one but me knows my true nature. All these years the public has seen only a veneer of my real self. No one could guess what degrading things I have done secretly, things which I must say in all honesty, I enjoyed very much. And yet I do not consider myself a hypocrite, for man has a dual nature. The professional, respectable side of my character is as much as part of me as is the side that has enjoyed to the fullest my secret irregularities. To me, the curse of mankind seemed to be that man should have two separate natures within himself, forces which were continually struggling with one another. Thus, I began to speculate that our so-called solid body might not be so solid after all. If one could find the physical or psychic membrane that bound our duality, it would be possible to sever it. But because I attempted to rid man of the bad seed that resides in him, I find now to my sorrow that such task is impossible. My discovery remains incomplete. I want you to know that I did nothing rashly. I attempted my experiment only after much consideration, for I knew that I was risking death by using so potent a drug as I had devised. But it was my extreme scientific curiosity that tempted me to try and reach into the unknown and shatter the theory that man was indivisible. I was sure that human beings had at least two distinct entities, a good self and an evil self. My task was to use my body for my experiment and to try and extract my evil self. I well remember the night I took the potion. I had bought a large quantity of particular salt that I knew would be the key catalyst. I mixed it with other ingredients and watched them boil and smoke, and then, summoning up all of my courage, I drank the potion. It began working almost immediately. A grinding tore at my bones. I was racked with deadly nausea, and when my mind cleared, I felt strangely younger, lighter, and happier. I felt newborn and, above all, absolutely free. I had no conscience. I was evil and wicked with no constraints. I stretched my hands out in joy and was suddenly aware that not only had I changed inwardly, but I had changed physically. I had become stunted. Desperately I sought a mirror and dashed from the laboratory, ran across the courtyard and into my bedroom where there was a mirror. And there, for the first time, I saw my evil side. Edward Hyde. Sickly and deformed, despite the fact that I seemingly felt younger and happier. I realised, of course, that my professional self had been rigorously trained. This side of myself, which I now saw, had been kept secret for many, many years in the dark cellar of my soul. No wonder it looked sickly and less developed. Studying Hyde's face in the mirror, I was horrified to recall the aura of goodness that continually emanated from Jekyll's face, whereas evil positively coloured the entire countenance of Edward Hyde. Yet I was not entirely repelled by what I saw, for this was me, or at least part of me. What I saw in the mirror seemed natural and human. It occurred to me then that the evil within me was, or might be, stronger than the good, but I dismissed this thought. After all, my potion was neutral. Had I wished to release my pure, holy, saint-like qualities, I could have, but I chose instead to extract the evil side of my nature, and I had in the process given birth to the wholly evil Edward Hyde. My discovery, though, was dangerous because now I was growing old. I liked feeling young and free. Thus I was increasingly tempted to drink the potion and drop the dull body of aging Dr. Jekyll and become instead the lithe young Edward Hyde. In fact, I liked Hyde so much that I furnished a house and hired a discreet but unscrupulous housekeeper for him. I thought that I'd taken sufficient precautions to furnish safety for Hyde, but some 2 months before Sir Danvers' crew was murdered, a terrifying thing occurred. I awoke and realised that I was not Jekyll. I thought that I'd gone to bed in my own body, in my own room, but I could not be sure, for I realised that when I had wakened, in the small, misshapen body of Hyde, I rushed to the mirror in absolute terror. It was Hyde whom I saw. Somehow during the night my body chemistry had reversed itself, and the evil Hyde had taken possession of me. I had no alternative but to dash through the courtyard and the corridors and see one of my servants look in wonder at Hyde's appearance in my house at such an early hour. 10 minutes later, I was Jekyll again. I made a pretense of eating breakfast, but I was not hungry. I feared that I was losing the power to choose when I wished to change myself into Hyde. Hyde was now making that decision. Accordingly, it became necessary for me to double, then triple the dosage of the drug in order to keep Hyde in check. And not knowing what side effects the drug might have, I knew that I was risking death. But I had no choice. I had to control Hyde. My better self was losing not only the power to return to its former self, but I realised that I, Jekyll, was losing the will to do so. Soon I was faced with a dilemma. Which person did I want to be? The free, conscienceless Hyde, or the good, suppressed Dr. Jekyll? If I remained Jekyll forever, I could never more enjoy the depravities that Hyde gorged himself on. I would be once more a good man, but I would be a sterile shell of a man, constantly fighting the fires of temptation because I had tasted and revelled in sin with no remorse or shame. This, as I take it, was because all human beings, as we meet them, are commingled out of good and evil, and Edward Hyde, alone in the ranks of mankind, was pure evil.